The topic I'd like to discuss tonight is arrays. We need them, we need to understand them in order to answer this typical AP computer science question. Please pause the video now, take a few minutes, look this over, see if we can come up with an answer. Please do that now. Okay, just a quick run through then. Suppose the method int sign, we have to arguments in integer x returns 1 if x is positive, negative 1 if x is negative, and 0 if x is 0. Given this, what are the values of the elements of nums after the following code is executed? And then it gives us some code and the output. Okay, so what do we need to understand? What we need to understand is the topic of arrays. An array is going to be an ordered list of values, and the entire array is going to have a single name. But each value in the array is going to have a numeric index. For instance, I usually like to make little tables when I try and sort this stuff out. So let's see, what are the variables I got to keep track of in this one? I got to keep track of what k is. So I'll just draw a little table as if I was going to. And then I have to keep track of something called nums. And that's what this is referring to here. So I'm going to suggest, this is not the only way to do this, but I'm going to suggest something like this. Nums is an array. It's an array of values, and a particular value in an array is referenced by using the array name followed by the index in brackets. So here's the array name, which is nums. It's going to be an array of integers, so square brackets indicate an array. It's going to contain integers. It couldn't contain any primitive data type. It could contain any set of objects. This is going to contain integers. We're going to reference it by counting, giving each one of these a numeric value, and we're going to count as we usually do, starting with 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's going to be, the length of this thing is going to be 5, but it's going to be numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to have a feeling that I'm going to have to keep track of those. So let me see if this makes any sense. In my array of integers, what's the name of those? Not k. It's an array of integers called num, and each element, let's see, let's make this a little bit different. Each element, let's see, k is going to start out, according to my for loop, k is going to start out as 0. And the 0 element of the nums array is going to be a -2. And hopefully you're starting to understand this. It's all just a pattern. And 1 and 2. So the value of nums 0, sub 0, is -2. Nums 1 is -1, and onward and upward. Here we go. I think I have everything I need. So, yeah, okay, off we go. So I'm going to follow through my program now. Let's see, k is equal to 0. It's going to go all the way up to, let's see, so instead of the length of this, I know it's going to be 5, so I know it's going to go to 5. Or rather, num's length is going to be 5, so we're going to stay less than that, so we're going to go up to 4. And we're going to keep adding 1. All right, so here we go. So num sub k. What's num sub k? Num sub k is 0, and so num sub 0. So what's -2? Here we go. So I'm taking num sub 0, which is -2, and I'm sending it to the function sign. Now, according to this line, in the very first line of the program, let me just jump to the significant part. There we go. So this function returns a -1 if this value is negative. And this value right now, if k is 0, num sub 0 is negative 2, and so sine will return a negative 1. So in other words, this says take whatever num sub 0 is and subtract from it whatever the value of this is. So it's negative 1 minus a minus 1. So it's going to be negative 2 plus 1. So I guess that's going to be a negative 1. And then so negative 2 minus a minus 1 is going to be plus 1, so it's going to be negative 1. And let's see. So now our next line. So this is still 0. Sine, oh, it's the same thing. So the sine of num sub negative 1 is a negative number. So this function returns a negative 1. So, but the only difference here is a plus. Okay, so num sub 0 is negative 1 plus a negative 1 is now a negative 2. Okay, I got it. And our loop repeats again, but this time k is going to be 1. Okay, so k is going to be 1 through this block in the for loop. And so it looks like I'm going to do all my work right here on this value. Okay. So num sub k, num sub negative 1, rather 1, num sub 1 is going to be equal to a negative 1. That's going to return a negative 1 from the sine function. So let's see. Num 1 is negative 1 minus a minus 1. So minus a minus 1 is plus. So negative 1 plus 1 is 0 this time. And so this line says take that 0, send it to sine, get a 0 back again. So 0 plus 0 is going to equal to 0. Now it really didn't change, but I like to keep track of how many times I'm changing it. I'm going to go a little faster now. So my for loop, my k is going to become a 2. Looks like I'm going to do all my work on this area of my table. This is 0. This is a 2, but num sub 2 is 0. The sine of 0 is going to send back a 0, so 0 minus 0 is going to be 0. And then the same exact thing here, but a plus sign. 0 plus 0 is going to be 0. And k equals 3. So let's see. Num sub 3 is going to be equal to the value of 1. That's positive. Okay. So I'm going to subtract. That brings back a positive 1. So 1 minus 1 is going to get me 0. When I send 0 to the sign, that returns a 0. So 0 plus 0 is going to be equal to 0. Finally, k is going to be equal to 4. Let's see. So I'm going to be dealing with this 2 right here. So the sign of the positive 2 is going to bring me, sign is going to return a 1. So 2 minus a 1 is going to get me 1. And then it's still positive, so the sign of a positive number is 1. I'm supposed to take num sub 4 and add to it a positive 1, which means I'm going to get 2. And it looks like the elements in my array are going to take on these values, and I believe that means my answer to this question is E. And here endeth the lesson.